is liable for a severe mental disturbance which he causes intentionally, or where the wrongful act or omission is willful, wanton, or malicious, as distinguished from a wrongful. Act, constituting negligence merely. Additional indirect authority in support of the view that there is liability for an intentional wrong which causes mental disturbance is to be found in the cases which state that there can be no recovery for a mental or emotional disturbance in the absence of any element of willfulness, wantonness, malice, insult, abuse, or inhumanity. So we have all of that. Isn't she cute? What a cute little girl. That's a federal law, and it's very good. And the fourth law Larkins et al. Violated was harassment. A person is guilty of the offense of harassment when, with intent to harass, annoy, or alarm another person. Are you leaving? Oh, don't go. Don't go. Stay with us. He engages in a course of conduct or repeatedly commits acts which alarm or seriously annoy another person and which serve no legitimate purpose. That's harass. That word is very often wrongfully used, but that's what harassment means. That was the end of page 110. I'm still listening to Gelman audio tapes. I'm up to 172. It's sometime around April 1991. And now, this is page 111 on my cross motion to Judge Wood, do not dismiss my complaint against Andrew and Kevin Larkin. And here's a motion that Judge Wood should recuse himself. Judge Wood has ruled against Glendora every pleading. He has ruled unilaterally for Wilson, Babe, Koza, Comboy, Cousins, Odell, McGrath, and Karamitsos. This has happened over 12 times. He is protective of this lawyer group because he knew Cousins' father from over a decade ago. It seems to Glendora and Franklin that Judge Wood is looking out for son Cousins for the sake of his old friend Dad Cousins. This is a 3Z law firm.
What else can I do?
Koza and Cousins. Glendora really thinks that this law group would not have done such a foolish thing as to move to dismiss and/or for summary judgment if they had not got some ex parte assurance that it would be granted. The conferences with Judge Wood are always lopsidedly in favor of the Cousins group. Judge Wood let the Cousins group get by with no default judgment when they did not answer Glendora's summons with notice and complaint for 35 days after the 20 days were up, December the 1st to January the 5th. Judge Wood denied Glendora 3 pleadings for a TRO when nobody opposed any of them. Judge Wood has let the defendants heap 1,700 injuries upon Glendora and never showed any sensitivity, humanity, justice in all this time. Judge Wood has let this case linger 1 year, 2 months. He has allowed the Cousins group to get by with gross laches as they keep stalling and delaying with one excuse after another. It's really hard to read this with a 600-watt light in your eyes. Judge Wood they broke 6 deposition appointments with Glendora until she put her foot down and asked for a date certain to complete discovery, August 22nd, 1994. Then Judge Wood went back on his word. They had their chance for discovery, and Koza muffed it. But Judge Wood gave them another deposition for October the 25th, 1994. This time, Koza got his act together. Glendora answered all questions. Koza said, "You have answered all my questions, and I'm satisfied." So when depositions could no longer be used for delay, they found a new one. all audio tapes and videotapes. Glendora has 660 audio tapes and 200 videotapes, all 1.5 to 2 hours long. Judge Wood acquiesced. They should have taken care of that a year ago. They were going backwards instead of forwards. The next delay was 2 more motions. See the October 31st, 1994 conference minutes and note how Judge Wood favored the Cousins group. I read those minutes to you last week. The January the 18th, 1995 minutes are coming. Meanwhile, Glendora's What Happened log in the appendix can be read for proof of ugly favoritism. Judge Wood coddles the Cousins' sons group again when Conboy defied Judge Wood's order to provide Glendora with a copy of the insurance agreement. Glendora asked for sanctions and Judge Wood just ignored it. Michael Koza, frustrated by his own bungling of the first deposition, August 22nd, 1994, grabbed the phone and called Judge Wood at the courthouse. Koza acted like he was Judge Wood's boss. Of course, Judge Wood is a political figure tied to a political boss. Wilson was lieutenant governor. Glendora feels of this Wilson that Judge Wood is politically connected. Judge Wood, Glendora feels, does not read her papers. This has been revealed in the conferences several times. He does not do his homework, and he is never fully aware of the facts and circumstances. Ginny went to sleep in the recycle box with the newspapers, tin cans, and bottles. Glendora feels he does not make the decisions, that Paul Carlucci makes them, when Judge Wood is paid $113,000 per year to make them. Judge Wood should have oral arguments on motions, but everything is on paper. It's like a correspondence school. The old joke is, if you can't get a lawyer who knows the law, then get one who knows the judge. This fits the Cousins group to a T. They don't know the law, but they surely do know the judge, and this is for 2 generations. Judge Wood should never have told Glendora, nobody up here satisfied you, you'll have to go to the Bronx. Judge Wood
Do we have any diskettes so he can backle something?
in ignominy. When the first 3 Dippy decisions arrived, blatantly prejudiced, Glendora could not understand why. She strongly suspected some sword of Damocles. Was it money? Was it power? Was it political? But January 18, 1994, 5 told her like a lightning bolt. Another thing happened January the 18th when the defendants were mentioned. Judge Wood said to Glendora, "You are so mean to their lawyers." This was clearly grandfather Wood protecting son Cousins. Judge Wood continued, "You even put them on TV. Here. Tell and sense the favoritism." Judge Wood was totally insensitive to the injuries these lawyers have done her. That is unreasonable. Judge Wood must recuse himself. A judge has to be unbiased. A judge cannot have a personal interest in the decision. He has a personal interest in the decision about what will happen to Cousins' son. Judge Wood has denied Glendora's due process rights under the 1st, 5th, and 14th Amendments of the United States Constitution. Nothing is ever accomplished at the conferences, and every time Franklin accompanies Glendora, he loses $50. He does not get paid unless he is there at work. They should have the same policy in the courts. Judge Wood allows his law clerk, to abuse Glendora's in the decisions and orders, The law clerk, Paul Carlucci, has written spite and malice, and with hatred has belittled Glendora's other fights for rights. This never should be included in decisions about the case at bar. Because of the malpractice of the Judge Wood court, Glendora asked Judge Wood to recuse himself immediately. Glendora's conclusion. It is 6 p.m. January the 23rd, 1995, Monday, and we have worked 53¼ hours on this cross motion. Glendora's complaint cannot be dismissed because the evidence has not been heard nor seen. Judge Wood has not heard the audio tapes nor seen the videotapes. It is the province of the jury to determine whether there has been the requisite degree of emotional disturbance. Ergo, since there are issues of fact, there can be no summary judgment. Glendora's complaint cannot be dismissed because there was no trial of the issues in this action. There were no witnesses sworn. There was no evidence taken. The case cannot be decided on its merits this way. If defendants' lawyers had such a good case to dismiss and for summary judgment, why were they 1 year, 2 months getting around to it? There is something most suspect here. This motion by Karamitso states no grounds for dismissing Glendora's complaint and/or summary judgment. It is an immature, chattering, and unprofessional paper. They just make fools of themselves. They don't have a leg to stand on. Boy, this is hard to read. All of their papers have been this way. They really don't know how to write them. Defendant's motion to dismiss and/or summary judgment must be denied pursuant to CPLR 3211B because defendants have no meritorious defense and never will have, and because the defense they present has no merit. Dismissing her complaint will not conclude it. It will just go to the Appellate Division, 2nd Department. It takes 30 days for the notice of appeal. It takes 90 days to perfect the appeal. It takes 1¼ and 1½ years for an oral argument, and 10 weeks for the leave to appeal at the New York State Court of Appeals. So it'll just go on and on. Add to this another ladder like this in the federal court for Larkin's breaking of federal law, and there are violations of Glendora's civil rights to be addressed here. It really cannot be a good idea to dismiss this complaint and/or summary judgment since Bruce Bendish made no such motion for Walsh and Apulchi. You understand this one is just made by the Larkin lawyers, but Bendish over for Walsh and Apulchi did not make one. Larkin lawyers are missing 2/3 of their solidarity. And I don't think that Bendish is participating anymore because I feel that he's not getting paid by the Walshes and the Alpuccis. The court had a motion for default judgment before it, a clear case of default. The Cousins Law Group failed to answer timely. The summons with notice and complaint were served on the Larkin defendants November 11, 1993, Armistice Day. Larkin defendants never answered until January 5, 1994, a default of 34 days. But Judge Wood was protecting of his friend's son. Karamitsos never even submitted a copy of the answer to the court. And the answer was not sufficient. It was spat out of a computer, a bunch of forms, pages that did not apply to Glendora's case at all. It was a recorded announcement. It was a slobby job. Glendora never broke a law. Her record is clean and always will be. It is comical how hard the Cousins Group, workers of evil, tried to find something bad in Glendora's oral depositions but could not. Trying so hard, they were reduced to silliness. It is so much easier to live by the law and to tell the truth. Look what a mess Larkins have made of their lives. Glendora has noticed the court and the lawyers that she has increased her claim from $7,000 per family to $21,000 per family since the tortious acts and the emotional disturbance have tripled since she filed her complaint November 11, 1993. The total claim is $63,000. There are dozens of police reports all sent to the courts, lawyers, and defendants. Has any police officer ever had more police reports about his son? No summons have been issued because of the dereliction of the White Plains Police. We didn't see it happen, quote unquote. So therefore, we cannot arrest anybody. This is an impossible constraint to place upon the injured. The Judge Wood Court has been Neanderthal in giving Glendora no relief at all and stopping the injuries in bringing these lawbreakers to justice. Therefore, Glendora's complaint cannot be dismissed, and there can be no summary judgment. Their lawbreaking has stopped Glendora's life as a wife, as a TV personality, a businesswoman, and a church participant. These have been sacrificed. That the general accident shareholders should be robbed by the Cousins Law Group is fraudulent. Discovery is in abeyance. Some sense was put into Odell's madness, asking for all tapes when there are 860 tapes, 1.5 hour to 2 hours each. This was by Cousins, who said, "We'll go with the two-hour tapes for now." But Cousins is already lying about the tapes being edited. Glendora's tapes are a straight run. See, I had to, it was very late Monday night, and this had to be in, and Franklin was typing as fast as he could type, so I took the little brother typewriter, and I typed, and it's harder to read the little brother, because it's really made for graphs, to make graphs. It's beautiful. And I'm not a good typist, so it's very hard for me to read this. One is injured, one goes to court to get justice, is ensnared by crooked lawyers who keep things going to suck fees, and not only does one not get justice, but one can't extricate oneself. Lawyers double the injuries, courts triple them, and is this right? Is this just? It is 7 p.m. and we have worked on this cross motion for 56.25 hours. Karamazov says 7 days before the return date, but Glendora thinks it is 5. But there is no time to check the CPLR service of papers. This is because Karamazov's paper was too long and repetitive. If she had not lied so much, there would not have been so much to refute and upon which to set the record straight. It was the most inexperienced paper Glendora ever had to address. It was even worse than those Cablevision Park Avenue lawyers Glendora beat. For all defendants, for the lawyers, and for the court, Glendora sang Sunday's January the 21st, 1995 hymn and said Sunday's prayer for these defendants. The unison prayer of invocation in the Lord's Prayer. Almighty and everlasting God, in whom we live and move and have our being, who has created us for yourself, so that our hearts are restless till they find rest in you, grant unto us purity of heart and strength of purpose, so that no selfish passion may hinder us from knowing your will, and no weakness from doing it. Grant us your light, that we may see life clearly, and in your services find perfect peace. For your mercy's sake, amen. John Watson. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Ghost, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Amen. And here's the hymn. O Master, let me walk with thee in lowly lives of service free. Tell me thy secret, help me bear the strain of toil, the fret of care. Maybe the Lutheran Church, just a block from here, where we live, will play this on the carillon someday at 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., 5 p.m., or 9 p.m. It is 7:30 p.m. and Glendora has finished writing this paper. It is 168 handwritten pages. Franklin is typing page 97. We have worked 57 and a quarter hours on it. Franklin has the big typewriter, Glendora has the little brother typewriter, and it does not space correctly. Glendora apologizes, but we have to both type. Glendora is standing up for what is right. They are standing up for wrong. Your choice is clear and easy. And this I really don't think I can read you. No, it's too small. Can you read it? Wherefore, the preceding pages do state indisputable arguments why this court should issue an order. 1. To deny Karamitso's motion to dismiss Glendora's complaint pursuant to CPLR 3211B, as defendants have no meritorious defense and never will have, and what they stated as a defense has no merit. 2. To deny Karamitso's motion for summary judgment. 3. To deny Karamitso's motion for sanctions and costs against Glendora. 4. To sanction Karamitso's, Comboy, Koza, Cousins, Odell, McGrath for their frivolity, wasting time, delays, sloppy work, and obstructing justice. 5. That Judge Wood recuse himself for his favoring of the Cousins team because of having known Cousins' father, for the spite and malice of his arrogant law clerk, Paul Carlucci, for the bad record of this court, failing to get this case certified as ready for trial. 6. Granting Glendora such other further and different relief as this court may deem just and proper. Dated White Plains, New York, January 23rd, 1995. Yours in truth, Glendora. Glendora, Box 416, White Plains, New York, 10602, 914-949-9495. Subscribed and sworn to before me this 23rd day of January 1995. Francis Harrising, Notary Public, State of New York. Qualified in Westchester County. Commission expires May 12, 1996. And it goes to Alexander Karamitsos, and to Bruce Bendage, and to Judge Trafficante, Judge Kay, Judge Malonis, and Judge Ingracia, and you, the TV audience. Then, as part of the appendix, I included this typewritten account of what happened at the Judge Wood Conference on January 18th, Wednesday. And that was approximately from 8:30 a.m. to, here comes Jin Jin, to 11:30 a.m. And I told this to you ad lib last week, and I said I was going to type it all out and then read it to you. Don't do that, Ginny, and read it to you this week. Okay. Ginny says it's supper time. She has such a good clock in her stomach. We had to stand in line an hour. We had to carry in 3 copy boxes full of tapes, 20 pounds apiece, all the way up to the 18th floor. There were 400 people in line in the lobby to get through 3 security checkpoints. This is a burden on people. Glendora has been injured enough. Security is an imposition. Why cannot normal people go into their courthouse without being frisked and without all this delay and rude court officers? The motion to dismiss by Karamitsos, Koza, Cousins, Comboy, Odell, McGrath for Larkin shows no intelligence, nor maturity, nor justice. They and the court have violated Glendora's civil rights and many other rights. How would you like to have your neighbors do that, Judge Wood and Paul Carlucci? What do we as parents, a lawyer friend asked Glendora, do to cause the atrocities in our society perpetrated by Larkin, Walsh, and Apucci? It is an endless vicious cycle. It was their parents, now themselves, and will be their children as parents and their children. The conference was scheduled for 9:15 a.m. Franklin was up there guarding the boxes of audio tapes and videotapes. Glendora was standing in line with the 2 briefcases. Judge Colabella went by and asked Glendora when she wanted the hearing for the attorney's fees of corrupt Elizabeth Hubbard, Alan Beck, Michelle Mayapath, and the Fund for Ancient Courts. Glendora could not get up the urge to speak to Judge Colabella. She does not like him after all the evil he heaped upon her. She said nothing. He said, I'm doing it, touching his heart, where his heart should be. Glendora read his comment as a peace offering. Glendora did not say anything. Colabella said, when do you want me to schedule it? Glendora said after a long time, anytime. He left. He smiles, no smiles and no jokes, and went to somebody Glendora cannot trust. He was thrown off balance by this. It was a long wait as always. It is not fair. Judges are no better than doctors at keeping appointments. A patient sitting in the doctor's reception room said, I was hoping the doctor could treat my disease in its early stages. Sulich asked Glendora what happened to Bendish. Glendora said, between you and me and the gatepost, I don't think he is getting paid. Glendora told Sulich she was going to ask Judge Wood if she could audio tape the conference. Sulich said, I know what he will say. And Glendora said, well, if he does, I'll say why. Another lawyer was there complaining about the lawyer opponent. He used the name of my lord in vain twice, and I told him. So we waited 3/4 an hour. We waited in the lobby for an hour. Every hour cost $1 in the parking meter. The greedy White Plains Parking Authority. So Mayor Schulman can get a raise. Clerk Sulich scribbled the 3 motions pending to inform Judge Wood what is going on. Judge Wood never knows what's going on. Wouldn't it be nice to have a judge who read your papers and knew what is going on? John Sulich said Glendora would be next, but he slipped in another woman who took 10 minutes. Courts are loathsome. Glendora double-checked to see if she got the court stenographer she ordered last week. It was Sue L., daughter of Joe Palillo, civil clerk for the appellate term Brooklyn, where once Fred Shapiro was a clerk and is now a county judge. We were called. Glendora asked Judge Wood if she could audio tape the conference. Surprisingly, he said yes. The man who came from Wilson Babe says, I object. I don't want a tape of this, which can be edited. Glendora objected to this lie about editing. Glendora's tapes are a straight run, she told him. This man never introduced himself to Glendora, nor did Judge Wood introduce him to Glendora. Glendora went out into the hall, leaving this man and Judge Wood alone. That's bad. Ex parte, no doubt. She was there, I think. Sue was there, I think. Glendora went into the hall to get the audio recorder from Franklin, or to ask him to go down to the security desk and get it. Franklin had left the audio tape recorder in the Lincoln in the parking ramp. So that was terrible. Glendora finally got a judge to say she could tape, and Franklin left the recorder in the car. This man from Wilson Babe was afraid of being taped. They all are. They do not want the public to see how they lie and try to deceive. And the bad record of these Wilson lawyers has been on TV for weeks. Glendora opened the box. Let's see the Ginny cat. Here, Ginny. Ginny. I know she has that sore back, you know. You have to lift her very carefully. Glendora opened the box of 400 audio tapes and asked Judge Wood if he could stand up and look at it from the top of the box. I have 660 audio tapes, most of them 1.5 hours each. Judge Wood was beginning to get the idea. Then she took the cover off the 20-pound box of videotapes, VHS format. I have 200 1-inch, 1/2-inch videotapes like this. Each 2 hours long. She asked Judge Wood to stand up and look at these from the top of the box. Then she opened up the 25-pound box of files that had 2 1/2-inch videotapes, 4 hours total. She took the cassettes out of their cassette boxes and said, of course they have to see the tapes so they can figure out what lies to tell at the trial. but all videotapes and all audio tapes is impossible, as Odell demanded. Judge Wood, frowning deeply, said, "Who's Odell?" Glendora thought to herself, "That's okay, Judge, he doesn't know who you are either." Odell was a lawyer assumed at the October 31st conference. He is also the author, shamefully, of a bizarre motion to see all the videotapes and all of the audio tapes. This shows that Judge Wood did not hear the Odell paper, one of the three motions before Judge Wood. Did not read it, excuse me. Glendora said, "I suggest they ask for a copy of these two tapes 4 hours together instead of all of the videotapes and the audio tapes." The unidentified man said, "We'll go with that, but for now I want to put the tapes in abeyance until these motions are decided." There's three motions before Judge Wood. So the matters of the tapes is dormant, and that is good. This man said they would not get copies of these, they would get copies of these two, and Judge Wood said, "At your expense." Glendora said, "These tapes are originals. I will not let them out of my sight. I will have to go with them. When they make dubs, I will have to be paid for my time, $200 an hour." Judge Wood ruled against Glendora right away. No way. Glendora also said she would have to put up a said that they would have to put up a $10,000 bond in case of damage or loss of the tapes. This is when that man put in abeyance the tapes until the motions were decided, one of which is about the tapes. So the tapes discovery is dormant for the moment. Glendora showed Judge Wood a blank trial readiness certification. Let me show it to you folks. I think it is in here. "I have been asking," she said, "you to certify this case ready for trial since June." Hard to work at a desk that Ginny is lying all over. Glendora opened the box of 400 audio tapes. Nope. Lost my place because of Ginny. Judge Wood said, "I keep getting motions." Glendora says, "Well, not one of those motions is mine. I never made any motions then." Judge Wood kept saying Glendora had not answered the third motion. Glendora said the return date is not until January 30th. Judge Wood said, "We'll answer early in case they want to say something about it. He is always looking out for them." Insert. Right off, Glendora said one of these motions was to dismiss her complaint. Glendora said, "There is no way my complaint can be dismissed. You have not heard the evidence or seen it yet." Neither the judge nor the Wilson man said anything. Glendora did not mention the notice she had served and submitted yesterday to increase her damages from $7,000 per family to $21,000 per family, equals $63,000 total. And there is no way Glendora's complaint can be dismissed. No witnesses sworn, no evidence taken, no trial of the issues, dispute of facts, and a jury has providence over the degree of intentional infliction of emotional disturbance with no physical effect. Neither the man nor the judge contested this. Judge Wood said jokingly to Franklin, who was taking notes in shorthand, "You get that down, Franklin?" There was a court stenographer there, too, as I said, Sue. Judge Wood said, "I need 45 days to decide these motions." Glendora says, "That's March 1st. Judge Wood said, "And in that decision, I will tell you what date to come next." Judge Wood said, "You got that date down, Franklin?" It was pretty amusing. Franklin laughed, too. It cost Franklin $50 to come to this conference, excuse me, to witness for Glendora. He had to give up work, and he doesn't get paid unless he is there. Judge Wood said something before this that was prejudiced against Glendora and pro-Wilson. We do not recall it now because at that point, that man got up precipitously and walked out the door without Judge Wood saying the conference was over, or without Glendora saying she was done. Glendora said to him, "Wait a second, would you please give me your card, since nobody introduced us?" That's my alarm, and it's 6 p.m., and it tells me to go on retreat. And I haven't been on retreat where you think and listen to God and pray and write down what you're supposed to do and figure out how you're going to do it and have free time, alone and empty, for months and months and months. and maybe several years because of this law breaking and standing up for what is right. The man stopped at the door. Wait a second, Glendora said, would you please give me your card? Since nobody introduced us. The man stopped at the door, sort of felt in his right jacket pocket for a card, said nothing and left. He did not say, I'm sorry. He did not say bye. He did not say yes. He did not say no. Glendora, Judge Wood, he would not give me his car. Judge Wood. Well, that's Cousins. He's the son. He's tall, just like his father. When did you come to Westchester? Judge Wood said. Glendora. 1984, after Franklin retired as a newspaper reporter from the Buffalo News, plus 10 years on the Springfield, Massachusetts Union. Judge Wood. Oh, he was dead by that time. Judge Wood meant Cousins, the father. Bingo! Now it all became clear to Glendora and Franklin why she was losing unilaterally to Wilson, Babe, Koza, Cousins, Conboy, Odell, McGrath, Karamitsos. This is why she was ruled against over a dozen times. Cousins' daddy was an old friend of Judge Wood, and he was playing to godfather to Cousins' son, looking out for son for the sake of daddy. Something was said, and I forgot what, to which Judge Wood said, you are so mean to their lawyers. This is more prejudice. It is getting hopeless. This was poor Wilson. Judge Wood, you put them on television. Glendora reports what they do on television, good or bad, although they have never done anything good. And she does the same about Judge Wood, although, by gin, he's never done anything good as far as Glendora goes. Glendora protested, look what they've done to me. Judge Wood said, tell me a joke. Glendora said, no, that makes me mad. Franklin said yesterday about the Judge Wood bias, there's nothing you can do with them. Someday, they will realize they cannot go too far. I think Glendora said when Judge Wood said she was mean to their lawyers, you see what I mean? Unilateral. Judge Wood is a very social creature. Glendora is always hearing at church how Judge Wood had dinner with Evans Brewsters. Now, how do you know Judge Wood? Glendora asked the minister's wife, and through the Brewsters, the minister's wife said, he's such a nice man, and Glendora said, it may be, but he's a terrible judge. He is also a political creature. He asked Franklin if he knew Arthur Eves, it is Eve, in Buffalo. Franklin, he was a councilman in Buffalo when Franklin covered City Hall. Judge Wood, he was in the state assembly. I knew him in Albany. Franklin, he ran for mayor of Buffalo. Glendora knew him too. He sort of looked like Judge Wood. Both are black, both are distinguished looking, and in good physical shape. Judge Wood is 76. He retires December 31st this year. Glenn asked John Sulich. He cannot renew. He has had 3 renewals. Of 2 years each. Buffalo is a great city to live in. The telephone on Judge Wood's table rang. He jumped on it before the first ring was over. It might have been Koza. Judge Wood, I'll call you back in 15 minutes. That's awful to interrupt a conference with a telephone call. One day, Glendora saw Judge Coppola step down from the bench and keep litigants, lawyers, and a jury waiting so Judge Coppola could take a telephone call. Really? Do surgeons take telephone calls in the middle of operations? G believes the roving room door was open all during this conference. Glendora knew Wilson Babe lawyers had some edge over Judge Wood to get all the favors they have been getting for a year and 2 months, as long as this case has been filed. She didn't know if it were money or contacts or finance or power, or influence or power, But whatever it was, it worked every time. Ever since those 3 dippy decisions of law clerk Paul Carlucci and the 3 denials to the orders to the show cause that the lawbreakers never even answered, along with the granting of everything they wanted for depositions, and when that didn't work for them because Glendora handled them right, the granting of all videotapes and audio tapes, which should have been settled back in January 1994, a year ago. The most blatant favoritism was Judge Wood's ignoring the Wilson gang, not answering the summons, and complaint for 34 days and denying Glendora's motion for default judgment. Now that was 34 days after the 20 days was up. A blatant violation of the law by Judge Wood. The record is bad, and it is in the archives, and Glendora sent it all over the state to Judge Trafficante, Kay, Malonis and Gracia, Gary Casella, the Commission on Judicial Conduct. He never has oral arguments on motions. That is because he wants his law clerk to do the work. The last thing Judge Wood said to Glendora on the October 31st conference, 1994 Halloween, when Sulich told him the next conference was a trial readiness conference, January 18th, Judge Wood said, the last thing he said on October 31st was, I'll have all my motions decided by then, January 18th. Well, there it was, January 18th, and not one motion was decided because of the Crooked Cousins group. He should do what Colabella does. No motion shall be put forth after such and such a date. Finis, Glendora, January the 23rd, 1995, Monday at 1:30 p.m. What happened in Judge Wood's court? January 18th, 1995. Now here is Franklin's version. When Glendora reminded the judge that this conference was set to promulgate a trial readiness certificate, he said that was his intention, but people kept submitting motions and they had to be decided. Remember, none of those motions were mine. Was mine. Judge Wood established that Glendora has one motion to reply to. She will do this by the return date of January 30th. Then within 45 days, although he has a heavy work schedule, he will complete decisions on the motions and notify Glendora when she next needs to be in court. He accepted March 1st as a date when he should have completed decisions. The judge said he knew Cousin's father, who died a dozen years ago or so. The judge also said he knew Art Eve of Buffalo from Albany days. Judge Wood said Glendora had been mean to lawyers at the Wilson Babe law firm. He asked, who is Odell? So the changing lawyer cast has even him puzzled. 2. Failure to recognize the name also suggests he didn't read the papers, Odell wrote. The judge was amiable but didn't seem abashed about any of the bad things he has done in this case, failures, vacillation, and so on. At the end, he wanted to make sure I had noted correctly that he would have decisions in about a month and would let Glendora know when to come to a conference. That would be a month and a half, really. He said he would see that Wilson Babe pays for making dubs of tapes but did not see why Glendora should be paid for her time. And he seemed to feel Glendora should get the tapes made. Cousins, during the talk about the cost of making tapes and the fact his firm must pay, suggested the tape issue be held in abeyance until other motions are decided. Cousins would not give Glendora a business card. He ignored the request as he walked out of the conference room. Franklin F. Buell, January the 19th, 1995. Now, the next thing in this cross motion in the appendix thereof was, these are the items Glendora wanted to cover with Judge Wood at the conference, January 18, 1994, 5 Wednesday, 10:45 a.m. She did not get a chance to do that. And I've read those to you last week. And then the last thing in this cross motion in the appendix was the minutes that I paid $35 for. There's the receipt. And these minutes you were read last week. And that's it, folks. That's the end of that paper, and it was 150 pages long. This was Glendora's cross motion to Judge Wood not to dismiss her complaint against the Larkins. It took 75 hours. It took 75 hours out of our lives, to get that motion, cross motion, to Judge Wood on January 23rd, 1995, Monday. And so there we are. And that is what happened on Glendora versus Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin on the week of January the 16th and 23rd. You keep your courage flaming, and God bless you.
I think I can follow your lead. Motion.
Yeah, this is the CD-ROM copy.
Well, hopefully,
Animation on the screen and sound.
And it was out of its pot, and so I put it back in its pot, and then I got it a whole lot of new soil and packed it all down, and so that at least it could be standing up. And that was way back in the summer of 1994. This is January 95. What you hear in the background is that, of course, I'm listening to the Gelman tapes, and I just found one. But isn't it wonderful how this tree has revived? Now it's in the west window of the living room. It's a pretty thing. And it even had a baby. You can see there in the pot. See the baby? Let me show you the baby. Right there. It was a slip that fell off, and I put it in water, and it rooted. So I planted it. And who's this? Who are you, little kitty? Jenny. Jenny, right here, Jenny. Yeah. Oh, what a good kitty. The crazy laughter you just heard on the audio tape was back in 1991, April, Jose Esteves. Came in on the recorder, at least for last night, Friday, January 27th, from Nassau County. Chat with Glendora and Cablevision there. And then there's some more calls that went 2, 3 days, 4 days behind that I never had time to keep up with because of the law breaking of the Larkins and, of course, others. So we're going to play them back now, and we'll press the smart button.
Disgusting old Betty. Why are you wasting taxpayers' dollars on useless lawsuits? We're not proud of you, and you're a disgusting, ugly, horrible human being. We wish you the worst.
So what is your name, what is your telephone number, and what is your address?
Oh, such a funny joke. Why don't you find a bridge and jump off it?
What is your name, address, and telephone number?
Are you psycho? Who are you? You're like totally psycho, okay? And like, you're like stupid little comments that just got to go.
He's a repeat. What is your name, address, and telephone number? Howard. name, address, and telephone number.
My birthday's coming up. Could you please call me? I'd like to chat with you. My number is 516-799-5288. My name's Michelle. My birthday is Tuesday. So call me. Thank you. Bye.
Great question, Glendora. It's good to see you back on television. Haven't seen you in a while. It's Gary from Long Island. 516-746-4376. Good seeing you. Bye.
I think it's awful that you're so cramped today.
And today is January 28th, 1995, Saturday. Playing in the bathtub. She just had a tremendous play, so I thought I'd get the videotape camera and see if she'll do it again. No, we're not going to get a big show such as we just missed. I guess she's a winner. She knocks it out of the bathtub, she's a winner. This is January 28th, 1995, Saturday, 11:30 a.m., and it's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. The third sunny, crispy day, and no snow. Hey, how are you? Isn't that cute? Ginny playing in the bathtub with a ping pong ball. And here's your jokes for today. I still have to listen to 5 Gelman audio tapes a day. That's 7 hours of listening every day to find the evidence for the Gelman trial. Gelman is the producer of Live with Regis, and I sent him a tape to see, and he didn't return it. And so I sued him in small claims court for $120. John got a new sign for his desk from the manager, and the sign read, "Do you like to meet new people? Do you like a change? Do you like excitement? Would you like a new job?" Just mess up one more time. Joni was doing publicity for the bowling alley, and she wrote an ad, and the ad said, "Interest your child in bowling. Get him off the streets and into the alley." And the big advantage that bowling has over golf is that in bowling, you never lose the ball. Did you read about Raymond Floyd, who won $400,000 golfing over a weekend? Isn't that something? Now, what is happening on Glendora versus Scott Lord? And Conrad Duberstein and John Robert Hall and Andrew Maloney and Harold Jones and Neil Mann and Teresa Kavanaugh and Joseph Derby and Scott Lord and Jan Stahl and Jeffrey Barnes. Well, the case is up to the United States Supreme Court, and the United States Supreme Court folks let us down. They sent us back a letter saying that in my informa pauperis I did not. This, by the way, is a conversation with Mitch Broder when he made the contract, one of the 13 audio tapes where he made the contract and then he breached it. And then Gannett lied and lied about it, and then the courts lied and lied about it. The lawyers lied, Gannett lied, the lawyers lied, and the judges lied. And So they sent this letter, and they said that on the Informa Pauperis. Well, let me show it to you. Chris, okay, and then it says 4A. Do you own any real estate, stocks, bonds, notes, automobiles, or other valuable property, excluding ordinary household furnishings and clothing? If the answer is yes, describe the property and state its approximate value. Well, you can say that I said, see attached. And they missed it completely. See attached is on the other side. Here it is, 4A, the 1980 Lincoln. So on the basis of that, we sent the whole thing back. So I called them up, and I told them that I was really disappointed in them. Here they are, the United States Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. And they would do such a dumb thing as that. And I told them that I told you about it, too. So they said, write a letter and explain. And we did. And I think that letter went out 3, 4, 5 days ago. So I called Tuesday, and they hadn't received it, and I didn't get a chance to call yesterday, Wednesday. And I won't get a chance to call today, Thursday, because of the videotaping and the editing. So maybe Friday I'll find out if they got that letter, and if they processed it correctly this time. So that leaves us into what is happening with that was Mitch Broder. What is happening with Glendora versus Mitch Broder, and Gannett and John Curley and McCorkindale, Douglas McCorkindale, and Gary Watson and Gary Sherlock and Kenneth Paulson. And what is happening there is the United States Supreme Court again, and we're doing very, very well on that. I can show you, these tapes go back to 1991. It's all investigations about Scott Lord and getting the information on him so that he could be prosecuted, and prosecuted he was. He ended up paying $14,500 for that bankruptcy, and Jan Stahl ended up paying, and Jeffrey Burns ended up paying $5,000 on it. So where is this?
Yeah, Atlanta Springs, Scott Lord. And you got paid. Yeah, Atlanta Springs, Scott Lord. And you got paid. But he still owes us $4,300. And I was calling to see if you had any bright ideas how I can collect from him.
Okay.
When you say you still owe you money for what?
Well, we produced an ad for him for television on Channel 2, 10 ads. And we signed a contract together. And,
Now this is the Informa Pauperis again.
yeah.
And this time, I hope they know enough to look on the back, because the United States Supreme Court tells you to use the back wherever possible. And this is the cover, and the table of contents, and the appendix we have to do later. In fact, that's almost next. And here's the table of authorities, what laws were broken. And it would, in this case, it would be the antitrust laws, the Clayton Act and the Sherman Antitrust Act. And then here comes the petition for writ of certiorari and the Supreme Court's jurisdiction, and constitutional statutory provisions involved in the statement of the case. And this is what's in the middle of being typed. Here's the rest of it here, handwritten.
And then he got a temporary license, and then when I told Consumer Affairs...
And it's up to page 30 so far. And that is just about done. The only thing to do on that is to show how judges grovel to get the Gannett endorsement, and therefore that's, you cannot get a fair court action because of Gannett, because they are a monopoly, and because they domineer over the judges.
Can't believe it's here.
So, all right. Now, let's tell the
money from Scott Lord?
the jokes.
Who am I speaking to?
So, folks, who was the last man to box Joe Louis? Do you know? Who was the last man to box Joe Louis? That would be The Undertaker. And Harvey says the mind is a wonderful thing, and his wife says yes, everybody should have one. And Paula says that her brother-in-law has got 30 days so often that they're thinking of naming a month after him. The next big job on Scott Lord is to get out a 38-page mailing, and then after that we have to get out a, here comes Ginny, we have to get out a 36-page mailing on Mitch Broder and Gannett, and then after that a Lydia Gallicano mailing, and then after that, I guess that's all. I guess the wall mailings are in hand. I got up at 1 a.m. to do those, the wall mailings and the Glendora TV ad, so I think they're all ready.